18 months ago, the bottom fell out of my marriage. My husband came home from a Man Up event and decided that it was the time to tell me that he'd been addicted to pornography for most of his life. And I sat there completely numb, holding my 2-week-old son, and just devastated. And in that moment, I couldn't identify a single woman or man that struggled with this or that their spouse struggled with this, and so I just felt alone, and among all the other feelings that would come with this. And so my husband encouraged me, go to your small group tomorrow and just tell them and what's going on and get support there. So I did. I went to my Thursday morning Bible study table, and I ugly cried to all of these women that were just so precious to me, and all I got was knowing nods and empathetic responses and hugs, and it was exactly what I needed. And I knew that I needed to find someone that had walked through this with me, or had walked through this before me and could help me along the way. And so I was recommended to a friend that I had already had a good relationship with, and she has some similar parts to her story that overlap with mine, and she's on the other side of it now. So she knew the pain that I was experiencing, but she also had victory over it within herself and in her marriage. And so it just was crucial. Carrie was a vital part of my recovery with my husband and with myself. And so what seemed like a coincidence at the time, but it wasn't, obviously. She was coming out to California. She doesn't live here anymore. She was coming out to California to visit, and I was like, please stay in my home. My husband and I were just a few weeks post-disclosure and completely broken, but I was like, please stay in our home with all of your children and we'll figure it out. And she did, and it blessed me and my husband beyond measure. She and her husband were able to meet us where we were. They talked through it with us. They cried with us. They prayed with us. Her husband told us that all week he was just walking through our home. Anytime he was there, praying over our home. And that still means so much to me. And that trip just really boosted me and my husband towards recovery, both together and separately. And I'm just so grateful for Carrie. And I was able to text her or call her anytime over the next couple of months, and I'm feeling so devastated. I can't get out of bed today. And she heard me, she validated me, and she encouraged me. She gave me tips of what she did when she was going through such a dark time. And to have someone I could reach out to was great. And then another way that I was supported by women was when my husband joined Celebrate Recovery, and 6 months later I decided, I'm pretty broken too, I think I'll join. And so I also joined Celebrate Recovery and found just women throughout the whole ministry giving their testimonies night after night, similar stories and different, and just being so encouraged by the other women and the vulnerability that they're willing to share their story with me. And we get it. We can encourage each other and support each other in our brokenness. And there's really nothing more beautiful that I have been able to experience.
One of the lady is Susie Ojeda, and she's from Saddleback, Buenos Aires, and she's one of our primary contacts down there that really helps us when we bring the teams into Buenos Aires. She'll do translating, she helps with communicating, with transportation, she feeds us dinners, whatever we need, she is there to help us with that coordinating, and it's a big job. I wanted to focus on a lady that's like me, ordinary person that's not on staff, that she works full-time. She's got 2 young boys. She teaches as a elementary school teacher English, and she serves. She right now is serving in the children's ministry, so she gets up and dresses and does crazy things, but she's loving on those little kids to know about Christ and how to pray. And I know how the time constraints are. You know, when you're working full time and you've got kids and you think, oh my gosh, how can I manage it? But the Lord blesses her time and she blesses so many people. And when our teams come down, she translates, she loves on us, she helps with all the different work that we have to do. So Susie, not only working with the Saddleback campus and the people in the church, she also goes out to the streets and works with the homeless. They have a huge reach out to the homeless in the area. And she will go out and cut hair for the homeless. They'll feed the homeless. So she's unending. She's always giving of herself, and it's truly a blessing. And when I see that, and I know she's got these young kids and working and everything balancing it, it encourages me. So I encourage everybody to really get out there, and even if it's a little thing, just do something. And if you want to go to Argentina, we would love to have women down there to encourage the women to serve.
When I personally think of a woman that embodies love, I think of my life group leader, Erin Timberman. And she just captures this verse for me: we love because he first loved. And when I was stepping into this unknown area of my life called high school, this huge transition, she put out her hand and took me from that unknown into her arms. And she was a constant in my life. She dedicated herself to showing up every Tuesday night for me and my group of girls. And she would carry us and listen to our struggles and our burdens. And just like Jesus, she would be like there for us every step of the way. And that felt incredible to have in my life. Once again, I stepped into another unknown as I took a missions trip this summer to the Philippines. And this time I was in a physical place of unknown. It was a different culture, weather, language. And yet, once again, God showed his love through a woman named Aloysa. And Aloysa just brought me into her life, even though I was a total stranger. She pulled me from this unknown once again, and she taught me her native language, Tagalog. And even now, while we are in completely separate sides of the earth, she keeps me accountable. And we do Bible studies with each other over social media. And we have already gone through 2 books of the Bible, and I'm looking forward to going through even more now that I've met her. And so these 2 women really just captured that verse for me. We love because when he saw us before we even knew us, he stuck his hand into the unknown and brought us back into his light.
I'm going to start from the beginning and kind of just tell you about this woman who radically changed my life. Me and my husband got married 10 years ago, and about 5 years into our marriage, we had this miracle child that we named Bravery. And we had no idea that following those 5 years, we would struggle with infertility, that we would struggle with hopelessness, feeling of isolation, lost, no answers to questions that we had. And for women who have struggled with infertility or miscarriage, it's a really lonely place. And I think that that loneliness pushed us into a place where we had to get real with our Savior. And in that time is when he called us to the season of adoption. And I'm so glad he did, because I can't imagine my life without it now. And so this time last year, we started the adoption process. We were clueless about the adoption process. We didn't know legalities. And during the time that we were praying, the Lord just came down on us and told us, you're gonna just put love at the forefront of every step that you make through this adoption journey, and I'm gonna show up in ways that you could have never imagined. I'll never forget, it was middle of January, and we get this email about this specific young woman. And I remember reading through her story, and I instantly felt like I knew her. And I can't explain it any other way than I felt like she was already a part of our family, that she was a part of this bigger story than we ever thought, this 10 years of infertility, that she would come into our lives and radically change it. And just a few short days later, we heard that she wanted to talk to us. And I've never been so nervous in my entire life than that. And more than 3 minutes into that phone conversation, it just felt, it reconfirmed that feeling that she was gonna be a part of our family. And the next day, we were at the airport, and we get this text from her, and she just says, "You're it, I choose you." 10 short days later, after we had been building a relationship with her, she calls us and says, I'm in labor a month early, get on a plane, come out here. And we knew that the Lord was doing something, and so we jump on this plane and we fly out to Florida. And I remember walking into that hospital room and seeing her and wrapping my arms around her and never feeling those deep, deep connections with anybody in my life the moment I wrapped my arms around this young woman. And it was the last day at the hospital, and it's customary that a lawyer, after papers are signed, brings you and hands you your new child. And she wanted to be the one that did it. And I'll never forget the moment that she walked in and she handed us her son. And when she handed us her son, it was symbolic of her passing all the memories and all the milestones and all the motherhood to me. And I'll never, ever be able to tell her what that unconditional love did. And that one action was the most selfless, loving, brave, and courageous thing I've ever experienced on this broken earth. And the beautiful thing about that is we continue to have a relationship to this day. And here I was thinking we were going to change somebody's life forever, and it was the complete opposite. She changed ours. And so there will never be words that I could ever say to tell her how much I love her. And now this is the love that we get to share with a woman that forever has changed me. I never knew that my brokenness and her brokenness would be healed through such a unique type of love and a relationship that I will never take for granted. And so if you're in this place and maybe somebody looks like it's a hard place to show love or accept love, do it. I promise you, you won't regret it.